My name is Micah Schur. I'm an assistant professor in the computer science department here at Georgetown, and I'm interested in working on privacy-enhancing technologies. So Tor is a project that began about a decade and a half ago, originally started by the US Navy. And what they try to do is they try to separate what's called your network location from your network identity. In other words, they try to disguise where you are on the network. So Tor is used for a lot of different reasons. It can be used to protect yourself from unscrupulous marketers, or if you're a whistleblower, or if you want to access health information and you don't necessarily want to disclose what you're searching for to people who may be listening in on your communications. Tor is an application layer protocol. It works on what's called an overlay network. So in the internet, you typically have routers, and so when you send a message or a packet from point A to point B, it might go through some internet routers along the way. What Tor does is that it takes your message and it wraps it in layers of cryptography, and it goes from one volunteer router to a next volunteer router, so that even if someone along the path were to eavesdrop on the communication, they can't figure out what the actual endpoints are. The advantage of Tor is it's a volunteer-operated, what's called an overlay network, or a network of volunteers who operate these anonymizing relays or routers throughout the internet. And so your security and anonymity doesn't depend on one group that may be pressured or compromised or attacked and release your records. With Tor, you're relying on, you have the benefit of having an open community of developers and volunteers, and your security you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket, if you will. Tor doesn't do a lot of things. It's not a panacea. It doesn't protect all of your privacy, and you have to know how to use it. You need to know how to use it correctly. I think the Tor project in the last couple of years has made tremendous progress in making it more usable. So it used to be the case that you would have to download Tor and you need to set up your computer to use it correctly. Now what they do is they embed it with a browser, so that you download something called the Tor browser plugin. So if you know how to use Firefox, you just when you want to be more private and more secure, then you use this special version of Firefox. And so it's easier to use, it's better usability, but you still need to abide by best practices and be careful about what it is that you're actually doing online.
My name is Meg Ambrose. I'm an assistant professor at Georgetown University in the Communication, Culture, and Technology department. I work on technology policy issues, mostly focused on the governance of emerging technology. When people are identifiable, all of the privacy issues look one way, and when they're not identifiable based on their IP address, all of the privacy policy debates look a totally different way. Good question. For the most part, we do talk about Tor in relation to government surveillance, but people have a general concern about being tracked across platforms and the way that those platforms are now communicating with each other and sharing information. You can get this really clear picture of what people do and how they spend their time when they're online, but when they're always online, right? You're connected through a number of different devices and other people's devices. People get concerned about the impacts to themselves and to society as a whole when they are trackable. I do find it problematic when Tor can be used, when anonymity in general can be used to keep groups of people like women and minorities from participating online. What we're discovering is that in anonymous spaces, chat, forums, anywhere essentially that you can post anonymously, that when women, minorities, people of different sexual orientations participate in those spaces, that there's this very brutal mob mentality against them. Maybe mob mentality is the wrong word. Even just a few rotten apples can scare people out of these spaces. I think that Tor enables this kind of action. So you can't hold people accountable for the defamatory comments that they make if they can't be identified through their IP address. I think one of the most interesting things to watch in relation to Tor is whether it remains a technical tool that can be relied upon for anonymity. The ways that people have been using Tor up to this point have really protected them as a technical means of hiding their identity. So the government has used very traditional police tactics to identify these people, not these technical ways of identifying them by somehow working through the onion routing system.